keynote on the Mac doesn't crash. And it was a show and tell for normal people. There are other show and tell formats out there, but we didn't know about TED then. And we just wanted to show their work, what they were doing. There's not very many formats for people to show their work. We called it PechaKucha night. PechaKucha means chit chat in Japanese. Everybody calls it PechaKucha. You only get 20 slides for 20 seconds to stop architects talking too much about boring handrail details. But the great thing about it is we want to discover hidden heroes in cities. And this guy is 63. He's never spoken before in his life, but he builds construction fences around the tallest buildings in Japan. And these are photographs that are amazing. We wanted him to speak, but he was scared and he wanted my staff to actually present. He was going to stand next to my staff. In the end, he just grabbed the mic and did it himself. So it started off as a one-off event in Tokyo, and it spread virally all around the world with no promotion. And today, from one event in Tokyo 17 years ago, we're now in 1,261 cities. We had 500 events even this year because of even during the pandemic. Why did you love it? Well, it's really easy. It's a simple framework of 20 slides or 10 slides, has a start, a middle, and an end. You can get your head around it, you can see it. And it's fast, and it's fun, and it's friendly. And people really can understand this presentation format easily. But it's a restriction. There's a restriction there, like Twitter, 240 characters with 400 seconds. It's a level playing field. We're going to have the CEO of a large company talk about his boat, and we're going to have students talk. It's the same playing field, you know? So it's like a big map. It's the same all around the world. But the key thing about it is it's a format, but it's also a community. And the format, it reinforces the community reinforces the format. So there's a flywheel. And that's why it's been running for 17 years. I got an app on my iPad, like Canvas. It's only there for 3 or 4 months, and I've kind of forgotten about it. So it's important for these things to actually reinforce one another. So you can now, before you actually make these presentations live all the time, but now, just before the pandemic, we started to build an online service called PechaKucha Create, where you upload, voice, and share presentations. And anybody can make a presentation online and share it. So super easy. We've been really excited for the last 3 months. We're working with the Get On campaign, Daydream Believers, Lego, Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And we've put that challenge out for kids to tell policy leaders, world leaders, to get on with it, on all their ideas and how they're getting on with it. We've had amazing response online. Woo! It's amazing. We have all these incredible presentations that people are putting online, the hashtag and get on with it. So we've had submissions from all around the world, which is really amazing. Yesterday, we had Stow Primary School in, and they've been working with us, and we've been tutoring them from Tokyo on Zoom, which has been really amazing. And they gave some really, really great presentations. They're also 10, yeah, 10 or 11. And it's been really, really amazing. So yeah, they're really brave, you know? They're creatively brave, as I should say. But it's been fun. And this is after 4. They arrived here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they started presenting at 4 o'clock. So they're a little bit tired there, but they're amazing. They pushed through, which was really brilliant. So to kick this off, we're going to have the girls back up again. Welcome to day 3, I should say. Okay, so come close to the mic. And if you don't stand here, keep your eye on that. But don't worry if you're not in time. It doesn't matter. Yeah? Just go for it, yeah? Okay, so 10 slides. So it's Tabby, Isabel, and Nina from Tidewater, Tidewater, not Time Water. So it's from Tidewater Primary School. So thank you so much, and I think that's it.
My name is Tabby. Today I'm here to talk about my letter made by me and my friend on how to help create a sustainable community where nature and humans can live together in a safe and nice environment. For the past few weeks, we've been studying how we can help make the world a more sustainable place. The houses are powered by solar panels, but they must be powered by wind through hydrogen. They produce very little carbon and harm There is everything. Park, made from the leftover rubbish from building the house, where kids can play, and there is a pond nearby so that dogs can swim, frogs can leap, and plants can grow. There's a slide and a climbing frame. Climb and slide down, play football or rugby with two balls. And here's the wild. You can play hide and seek, camp, run, and build a small den from a fallen branch. There's a shop nearby, so if you get hungry or camping, play and go and buy some food. If you like, you can visit the pond to see the dance. This place is open to the public and everyone can try the great food which is there and the great drink that they make. This place consists of coffee, toast, cakes, hot chocolate, juice, tea, toasties, and more. It's a vegetable garden is where the locals can grow fruit and veg whilst enjoying themselves. All of the veg and fruit is used towards a good cause, which is the shop's packaging. Vegetable garden grows tomatoes, carrots, aubergines, cabbage, lettuce, and potatoes. The underground septic tank is where all the sewage and waste is. Every now and then, the truck will come and fill up with the sewage and waste. To empty it out so that it's disposed of properly to not harm the environment as much. Finished models area. Nature garden, forest, playfield, shop, cafe, eco houses, park, playfield, ponds, and many other places. This is our vision of the next. Very much for listening to our presentation, and we hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll start making up your own ideas on how to save the environment and how to start being more sustainable.
I don't know if it's my fault, it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. We can swap them around online and it'll be absolutely fine. So thank you so much for being here. That's a great start, huh? So I'm really pleased to see so many old friends here too. Tokyo, that live in Glasgow. So it's really nice to see you there. It's great to see you finally in real life, Emily. So I think I'm going to invite you up first, Emily. Is that right? Yes, it is indeed. So Emily McGraw, she's presented before with PechaKucha, and in part of our global day. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us at PechaKucha. All right, my name is Emily McGlone. As you just heard, I have presented before with PechaKucha. I also used to live in Tokyo for 10 years and really excited to be here with all of you at COP26 in Glasgow. Thank you for hosting this amazing United Nations Climate Change Conference. Cheers for Glasgow and everybody here. Thank you so much. All right, I'm ready. Today we're going to be talking about Peace Boat and my experience on board this amazing cruise ship which travels for peace and sustainability. So I hope that you all leave here inspired, and then I'll leave it to my following colleagues.
Okay, the 20 slides are yours.
So this first photo actually talks about what Peace Boat is, and we're an international organization sailing around the world for peace and sustainability. And we say that we sail as a flagship for the SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And we also sail with the logo of the SDGs on the hull of the ship. So everywhere where we dock and port, people know that we're sailing for sustainability. I started out on Peace Boat as a volunteer. I was a Spanish teacher and joined the first Peace Boat voyage in 2004. And if you join as a volunteer, you can travel around the world helping promote Peace Boat's message, and also traveling and experiencing the Peace Boat as a volunteer that's for free. So that's also a great way to join us as an organization. On board the ship, we have lectures and workshops all about different ideas related to human rights or ocean conservation or education. And we have guest speakers like Cristiana Figueres, who's here, was very important in the Paris Climate Agreement. And she has also been a guest speaker with our Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassadors that we'll be talking about today. So one of the SDGs that is very important is SDG 14 for life below water. And today we have one of our Ocean and Climate Youth who's here, Natalia Lawan, going to be joining us. And these are young people from small island developing states working on climate action and ocean conservation. So this number 14 is very important for the oceans. And as Peace Boat travels around the world, we're always thinking about tourism for peace and sustainability. And we believe that travel in itself can be a tool for positive social and political change, which means we engage with local communities, indigenous groups, NGO leaders, and youth, and we talk about the issues that are important to them as we travel. Our office in New York is where I'm located now. So I'm the director of Peace Boat US, and our office is in the United Nations Plaza. So Peace Boat has what they call special consultative status with the UN, which means we can engage civil society with the United Nations and vice versa, bringing the UN ideas out to the public like today, and engaging young people as well as all kinds of different society actors. I love this photo because it represents many of the youth that I work with, and we're at the United Nations giving a presentation. So one of the things that Peace Boat does really well is bring the voice of young people into the UN. We also have, as I mentioned, young people here today, and we like to also raise awareness about all these different civil society related issues. So at the UN, of course, there are delegates from more than 192 countries making important decisions on behalf of humanity, but civil society plays a very important role in that. We can put pressure on governments to make positive decisions for the earth and also for the future that we're going to live in. So we know that it's time to act now. This is a 2030 agenda for sustainable development. It means we have 10 years to achieve the sustainable development goals. We don't want to waste time. We want to take actions every day that will help us to reach those goals. So that's one of the key phrases I think of this COP26 is to act now. And this is us at the United Nations with our youth scholars. And we started a scholarship for all those young people that we work with who are interested in the sustainable development goals. So anyone ages 18 to 30 years old, if you're here at the university and you want to join Peace Boat, you can apply for our youth for the SDG scholarship. We invite these youth to come on board the ship and exchange best practices and also share challenges and find solutions for sustainability. During these kind of programs, we not only work with the UN headquarters in New York, but we also visit UN-related offices around the world. This is a photo from Panama City, and every year, Peace Boat travels through the Canal of Panama, and then we are also visiting the UNDP headquarters there and learning about SDGs and how they're being implemented around the world. And as I mentioned that we have the logo on the hull of the ship, this is all the SDG colors. There's 17 goals, and these are all the youth that we're working with. And every youth has a different passion. You might be passionate about the environment, but you might also be passionate about human rights or ending hunger or equality. So you can really choose any of those goals that you want to work on and make it your own. Of course, we're very active not only in promoting SDGs, but also living and working on them. So volunteering, getting involved, hands on the ground, grassroots education and activism. For example, here we're planting mangrove seedlings. This is in Cambodia. We planted more than 100 seedlings with our local partners. And here we're hiking in Patagonia in Argentina, visiting the glaciers, because as we know, climate change is affecting everybody's lives today. Not only the glaciers are melting, but also sea level rises, and then we have rising temperatures around the world. So by visiting the glaciers and seeing the natural beauty of these majestic mountains and areas of the world that are really vulnerable to climate change, we can have a better understanding just by being there and experiencing that nature. So Patagonia is one of the places that really changed my life on the Peace Boat. I had already studied in Chile and I speak Spanish, but going through the fjords of Patagonia on the Peace Boat, you get to visit these amazing, majestic glaciers that are going into the ocean. And sometimes you can see the ice chipping off and melting into the sea, and you can hear it in the thunder of the ice falling into the ocean. And it really just reminds you that life is fragile and our natural environment is also very fragile. So we have to protect it and conserve it for the future generations, like these amazing young women who just gave a great talk. So thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for these ladies. And so today we were also meeting with one of our partners at COP who works on a nonprofit called Leader of Light. And they build solar powered lights to help vulnerable communities who don't have access to reliable power sources. And so by using these solar powered lights, they're able to have time to study at night or some way to light their homes. And then we're also doing activism with our partners in Latin America. So all around the world, we have different activities. And of course, we're sailing on the ocean and visiting many ports and beaches along the way, coastal communities. So doing beach cleanups and getting involved in the oceans. We really believe that by experiencing the nature, even life below water, as we're sailing on a huge ship at sea, it's important to see the livelihood below the water and to experience it. So I often am leading scuba diving or snorkeling trips whenever I get a chance to show people all the life that is below the water. And one of the important issues that we also focus on that I think is a really key initiative, especially here at COP this year, is the indigenous communities. There's so many indigenous groups around the world, and learning from their traditional knowledge is very important to us as well. We have to respect those ancestors of those who were here before us and learning how to live in harmony with nature. So thank you so much, and thank you to PechaKucha for hosting this event today.
So much. What's going to happen is we're going to go through these really quickly, and we can have a chat afterwards at the bar or in here. And you can have a chance to chat to everybody. But it's really great to understand more about PechaKucha. I didn't know so much about it, but we're going to hear even more from the founder, the guy that came up with the idea. And so.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Nice to meet you. My name is Yoshioka. Yeah, and for me, I really didn't know that.
We need another account to
Of course, this work. It's more important. There's something like talkative people.
I'll try it.
Like that. Yeah, always. Something like that.
So I'll just tell you a funny story, because so PechaKucha is now, that's what sound and chit chat on onomatopoeia is chit chat. Except now around the world it's become known as a short presentation format, and it's in the Cambridge University Dictionary, PechaKucha, as a short presentation format. I changed it was not so good when we were trying to get our legal documentation, because they said you can't call it that because it means short presentation format. I'm like, yeah, but we made it that. It's just complicated.
Yeah, but for me, I need to try to get PechaKucha on board.
What you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Get ready. 20 slides are yours.
Okay. Already Emily introduced quite a lot about our project. That I was a student, 23 years old at that time, 1983, and I'm totally crazy. So that's why I would like to make the better society by passenger ship. Why? I don't know why, really, but there's a ship, and a ship has some kind of possibility to go around the world, right? I really would like to know people. Peace is important, environment is important, and about how do you know about that? We have to go there, and we have to meet the people, and we have to feel what there. So that is an idea from the Peace Board in the very, very beginning. So, and that's why by this ship, that we are organizing the 3 times world cruise. Each world cruise is 100 days, and visiting 100 countries every year for 38 years. I cannot calculate how much country we visited. And also that is a kind of for me, I would like to create that civil society United Nations. This is a little bit the contradiction. United Peoples Alliance. Maybe that it can change the world, because the United Nations cannot change the world so far. So, and this is the kind of atmosphere on board. And really, PechaKucha, the space on board is our Peace Board. So that's why I'm so comfortable today to speak in this way. So this is one of the scene about the discussion, and also we invite famous people like Rigoberta Menchú. She's in business and Nobel Peace Prize, the woman. She's excellent person. I love her. I love her. But through her experience, we can start to understand what's happening in Guatemala. Right? Without the people that read the book and see the film, impossible. This is Palestinian camp. And she is my friend and our staff. And she visited the first time and heard about that Palestinian people's life from the people, not just listen, not just see the video. Huh? So, and smell, everything is a create a reality, what they have to do. We against the Iraqi war. I really still now, I'm really angry about that Iraqi war. How many people died? 1 million people died. So that's why we utilize the peaceful as a demonstration, ship demonstration, passenger ship demonstration. Maybe that is the first time in the world. Also, other way around, we had experience in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So that's why we invite PechaKucha. PechaKucha is survivor of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So more than 100 PechaKucha we brought to the world. And they speak about what's happened there, how their friends is dying in the fire and the heat, and that's a terrible situation in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These old ladies and the old guy is a survivors of the Hiroshima. And we got the Nobel Peace Prize with a member of the ICAN. But still, you have to please understand that, still nuclear weapon is more than 30,000 nuclear weapons exist in the world. Crazy, but still, they would like to kill the more people. So that's why we really have to change the world. I think SDGs has a power. This colorful sign has a power. And also the people, now they're suffering, they are coming from the small island state, Natalie also. So, and now the people is really suffering by the climate change. We have to listen to what's going on, and we have to bring them to the world and try to inform about what's going on. And I made one idea to build an eco ship. Do you like this?
Yes. Wow.
Quite interesting, right? This is a solar sail. And as much as possible, renewable energy we try to use and try to organize a global campaign of the SDGs and also global testimonies about the young people from the islands or Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So this is a ship, and this is the retractable. And each panel is sometimes as a sail, and sometimes as a solar panel. This is also just an idea. I'm not the expert of the shipbuilding, but you or everybody can start to imagine, why we can use this one, right? And this is solar panel, and the stand and the sail. And that's possible. And many things is not necessarily you are Elon Musk or Bill Gates. Just the idea, and let's try to do it. And this is the onboard garden. And we are peaceful. We need a symbol of the peace. So olive tree is a symbol of the peace. So we bring the olive tree to the world. The other one. So, and this is, and also we are built how to say, make a hydroponic vegetable on board. So something like a ship itself is like a small world. And the recycling water, recycling garbage, and also we can produce the food. And that small world is introduced us, this is a planet, right? So planet is a limited and small and weak. This is an ocean view conference room on board. I really would like to invite the COP conference here. Don't stay in the inside of the pavilion. Go to the ocean, go to the earth, and listen to the voice of the nature and the people. And they have to think about how to stop the climate crisis. That's why EcoShip by Peaceful. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. How much information can you get in 20 slides, 400 seconds? That's incredible, huh? The whole story there and the new, and the new boat. Yeah, I mean that's really really amazing. Yeah, I really like the way they have sails and then they can go flat, especially when there's a typhoon. I was kind of worried about that. But anyway, thank you so much.
No, thank you very much.
Good. Wow. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah, that COP should be on a boat, huh? Not a silly kind of. Sorry, we have a technical issue. That's the last one. Let me just hold on, we'll swap them around here. We're having a technical break at the moment. Sorry, I'm looking in the wrong order. Just a second.
I think I'm going to do the first 3 slides. Okay.
Yeah, but the second session. That's it.
Okay, sorry about that technical hiccup. We're ready to go. So I'd like to welcome Natalia to the stage. She's the Peace Boat, Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador from the Seychelles. Yeah.
I'm not sure if all of you know where Seychelles is. So Seychelles is a really small island east of Africa. It's actually only just a dot on the map, so it's fine if you don't know where that is. So my name is Natalia. I actually have a twin sister as well. I've done a lot of work concerning SDG 14 and 13 since a very young age. Both me and my sister, we were about 9 and 10, between 9 and 10.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, off you go.
Yeah, that's just gonna roll through the back. We were between 9 and 10, and we got involved in a lot of work in our country just because Seychelles is at the forefront of the climate change battle, and we are being heavily affected by ocean degradation. So in Seychelles, we have plenty of NGOs doing different source of work, but I decided to concentrate more towards SDG 14, where I joined an NGO called the Ocean Project Seychelles, where we did a lot of engagement with the youth and the community in general about to raise awareness about plastic pollution, beach cleanups, and that is just one of the reasons why I decided to join the Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassador Program on board Peace Boat. These here are some of the Ocean and Climate Youth Ambassadors. So I was on board the 101st voyage for Peace Boat, and there were 8 of us from small island developing states. We had representatives from Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Montserrat, Palau, Tuvalu, Fiji, Seychelles, and Singapore. So from all different places around the world. We journeyed from Malta to New York City, where we met with different stakeholders. In Malta, we met with the president and the ministers in Malta, where we saw their perspective about climate change and how they're dealing with climate change and how they plan on trying to mitigate climate change in their countries. We also got to visit bigger countries like Spain, for example, and we got to see their perspective on climate change. Because although a lot of people think that climate change only affects small island developing states, it's actually also affecting a lot of the bigger countries. And from the perspective of the youth in Spain, they told us that they have witnessed hotter summers and colder winters, and it's just been very crazy for them as well, not just in small island developing states. In between ports, so in between traveling from Malta to New York City, we also had events on board where we spoke and we met with different people. One of the people we met with was Laura Hildebrandt, who is the global policy specialist at the United Nations. And we got to learn a lot about SDGs. I do not think that there is an SDG that is more important than another one. I think that the SDGs are very interlinked, but I do believe that we all have a mission on this planet and we all have our own gifts and our own talents. So I work more towards SDG 14 just because I come from an ocean nation, if you can call it that, just because Seychelles is 99% water and only 1% land. So the size of Seychelles is actually the size of Germany, but it's only 1% of that land and the rest is just water. So we are an ocean nation. So I decided to work more towards SDG 14 just because that is where most of my people get their livelihoods from. And I just cannot part this world knowing that I did nothing to help my country and other small island developing states and other ocean nations to help them combat the issue of climate change and ocean degradation in their countries. Peace Boat was very eye-opening. Growing up in an island nation, I hadn't seen most of the world, so I didn't know much about what was happening in different other small island developing states, but the situation is worse in other countries. I speak on behalf of my sisters and brothers from the Pacific Islands, the Caribbean Ocean, the Indian Ocean, where I have a friend who's also on the Ocean Climate Youth Ambassador Program from Tuvalu, where her island is sinking. In Seychelles, well, luckily enough, we have granite islands, so we have mountains and hills, so it's some of our islands are okay for now with sea level rise, although we have seen where our roads and beaches have been eroded because of sea level rise. And for example, Seychelles, as you probably know, Seychelles is a very touristic country, rely on tourism mainly. And a lot of the tourists that come to Seychelles, they like to go on snorkels. And in 1998, we had the El Niño, which was a really massive phenomenon where most of our corals were bleached because of acidification. So this is not only a climate change problem, an environment problem, it's also an economic problem. It's also a cultural problem. And I truly believe that climate change does affect all aspects of our lives. It's not just happening in my home, it's also happening at the doorsteps of everyone. And I truly believe that we all need to make our voices heard, even though we're scared to say something or we're scared to make our voices heard and we feel like we can't say much because we're too scared to say something because we're too young. I'm 4'8" and I'm standing here in front of all of you guys. I was 12, 11 when I first started in volunteering, and I felt like I couldn't say much because I felt my voice was too thin, but I kept pushing. And I just know that if we all speak together, we all say the same words, our voice will have an impact on the world, because all together we can make a difference. Nothing should come in our way, not language, not religion, not heights, not where we're placed on the map, because even though we're very, very far away from, Seychelles is very far away from the UK, for example, we are all connected by the oceans. We do also have 70% of water inside our bodies, so we are an ocean. I think that's the last one. Is it? I could go on.
Keep going.
So this was actually the event that concluded the Ocean Climate Youth Ambassador Program. This was a beach cleanup on, I believe, New York, and it was done by 4 Oceans, where we had a beach cleanup on the beach, and it was very different because in Seychelles, where we would have beach cleanups, we would collect more plastic and glass and stuff like that. But it would be like obviously different types of trash, and we would categorize them in different sorts of ways in a bigger city, just like New York. And it's on the topic of speaking in front of a lot of people. I had to speak in front of, I think, thousands of people that day. So you just can imagine. This is on board Peace Boat, all the lovely people. These are the SDGs, the very, very nice colors. And these are the Ocean Climate Youth Ambassadors. I think this is the last slide.
Thank you so much. And I think that's the most important thing we've heard all the way through our sessions here, that anybody, short or tall, can make a difference, young or old, and what I was talking to Vivi, the biggest design and architecture magazine online, and I was saying every time we sit down and we're designing, we're always thinking about how to use less, how to use materials that could be recycled, or they're a part of the circular economy. We're always thinking that. We just don't keep it. It's still sort of this little bird at the back of the head that's nagging you. Can I make that not cheaper, but can I make it with more sustainable materials all the time? I think the kids too that were here yesterday. Can we use less of those plastic sachets that tomato ketchup come in, and have those things, and tell the guys at McDonald's, not teachers, the kids should tell the guys at McDonald's, don't use these are really bad. Their voices are really, really strong. And I think that's very important. Okay, getting a lot off the chest today. Good. All right, so Mark's up next.
Hi.
For the Sustainable Ocean Alliance Youth Policy Advisory Council. Yay! You're a taller person. So Mark, why don't you just kick off, and then would you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I would love to. Hey everyone, how are we feeling? All right.
Let's go. No, just...
Yeah, what's up everyone? So my name is Mark Haber. I'm the chair of Sustainable Ocean Alliance's Youth Policy Advisory Council. I'm based in Washington, D.C. in the United States, and I'm so excited to advocate for ocean climate action with you all here at COP.
Okay, great. So you ready to go?
Ready to go.
Okay. 20 slides are yours. If I put the timer on.
All right, so I'm here to present the Global Blue New Deal to you all here today. Sustainable Ocean Alliance is the world's largest network of students and young ocean leaders across more than 100 countries dedicated to improving ocean health. And I'm also wanting to introduce you to the Ocean Climate Connection. The ocean is our planet's best climate regulator and absorbs much of the excess heat from the atmosphere. But first, I wanted to introduce you to our Youth Policy Advisory Council, which is an international group of 15 regional environmental leaders dedicated to improving ocean health, with 2 policy campaigns, including our Global Blue New Deal and a campaign against deep seabed mining. So what is the Global Blue New Deal? The Global Blue New Deal is a youth-led, stakeholder-driven ocean climate policy framework that will be proposed to governments for implementation, with the focus on intergenerational climate justice and advancing sustainable development goals, a sustainable blue economy, and generally ocean climate action. But where did the Blue New Deal come from? Well, it might sound familiar. You might have heard of the Green New Deal, championed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the United States. And as great as this net zero climate framework was, it didn't mention oceans. And recognizing the power of youth in the climate conversation, we knew that we needed a framework for the oceans as well. So to draft the Global Blue New Deal, we distributed more than 100 surveys around the world to understand what were youth priorities in building a healthy ocean and a just future. We were able to take those surveys and synthesize them into 4 main categories of ocean action that we call our Global Blue New Deal pillars. However, we wanted to make sure that we included stakeholder comments beyond just the Sustainable Ocean Alliance community. In June, we held a workshop as a satellite event for UN World Ocean Day. And between September and October, we collected more than 60 comments to include in the Global Blue New Deal as well. Our Global Blue New Deal has a structure that includes calls to action for governments, the private sector, and civil society, and our preamble outlines why we wanted to draft the Global Blue New Deal and our vision for the future. There are two main key pillars that are relevant to COP, which are a net zero carbon future and restore marine biodiversity. The ocean climate community is bringing 5 major key ocean climate asks to COP. And the first, most overarching goal is to ask countries to be more ambitious in their climate emissions reductions strategies. And so the Global Blue New Deal justifies this call for reducing greenhouse gas and carbon emissions in our preamble, where we call on countries to reduce emissions urgently. A changing climate has impacts on ocean acidification, sea level rise, and the livelihoods of coastal communities. And there's no way that a changing climate will improve ocean health, which is why we must cut emissions ASAP. Our second goal is to establish a recurring ocean climate dialogue through the UNFCCC. Currently, there's no formal process to consider ocean health in climate recommendations for countries. And this would create a path for them to consider the asks of the Global Blue New Deal. In our Global Blue New Deal, we have key policy recommendations on areas such as ending offshore drilling, investing in renewable ocean energy, decarbonizing fishing and shipping, eliminating single-use plastic production, ending agricultural chemical pollution, building a circular economy, restoring marine biodiversity, and ending deep seabed mining. The ocean climate community also has a third ask of strengthening ocean-based solutions in national climate plans, mitigation, adaptation strategies, and the nationally determined contributions that are part of the Paris Agreement. This is part of our Global Blue New Deal's second pillar, where we call for the inclusion of nature-based solutions because they sequester carbon for free. No need to innovate new carbon sequestration technologies and bolster coastal resilience. We must look to safeguarding nature and harnessing its power before we destroy it. Importantly, we must also rethink about how we can reprioritize international finance. Not only must we strengthen finance for ocean climate action, but that includes divesting from fossil fuels and ocean mining, which are destructive, non-renewable, and unsustainable ways that we cannot support. And in fact, this type of vision is corroborated by the International Energy Agency, which says that there's no need to invest in new fossil fuel supply and a net zero pathway. And we ask for the same. We ask to divest from fossil fuels, we ask to divest from ocean mining, and we also ask to invest in renewable energy development, alternative fuel sources, and ecosystem restoration. And last but not least, when it comes to seabed mining, we must ask the International Seabed Authority and the United Nations to postpone the upcoming December 2021 meeting, where they will vote on whether or not to open up 50% of the seabed to mining, even though they haven't made any announcements to stakeholders and there's a general lack of due process. In the Global Blue New Deal, we call for a global moratorium on deep seabed mining and that we need to stop issuing exploratory licenses. We don't understand how the seabed fits into the global climate and biospheres, and we can't destroy the seabed before we can understand, predict, or mitigate what happens to it. Importantly, much of this is solved by increasing a democratic process for governance. When we include those communities that are most affected by changes in the environment, we need to make sure that they have a seat at the table. We, as youth, have the greatest stake in the future health of the environment, and we need to be at the decision-making table. We hope that you too feel inspired to join the Alliance, and you can follow updates about our Global Blue New Deal campaign by following us on Twitter and Instagram at SO Alliance. And last but not least, we need your help with our Global Blue New Deal campaign. Take out your phones, point your cameras at our QR codes so that you can sign our open letter for ocean climate action addressed to governments and representatives of COP26. And please spread the message about the Global Blue New Deal on social media as well. Thank you so much, PechaKucha, and thank you so much to PechaKucha for the opportunity.
Every organization has somebody like Mark. Come back, Mark. Every organization has someone like Mark that can get through their whole policy in 400 seconds. Yeah? That was amazing. I mean, with no notes.
On point, on slide. That was really, really fantastic. What a very cool presentation. You know, I wish they'd do that at COP, yeah, instead of moving on, yeah, and making President what's this one more? President Biden fall asleep. Yeah.
Seriously, maybe President Biden would have fallen asleep if they let President talk at the opening plenary. She wasn't invited.
Wow, really?
No.
Oh, wow. We should get him here so that he can actually. He would do way more good than that. Anyway, I think I'm recording it. It's going out online here. So, all right, Mark. Thank you so much. Now we come to our last speaker of the evening, who's flown in all the way from Edinburgh. He could have walked actually as well. You know. Anyway, there's some lovely connections here because Gordon runs PechaKucha Night in Edinburgh. We go back 10 years or more. So when we had the really big, the world's biggest PechaKucha in Sadlerswells Theatre in London. And he was in the audience, we chatted there, and we had lots of common friends, Kate Thompson. And it was funny because Gordon came yesterday, and we had all the little kids here doing their presentations. And there was a bit of a confusion over when he was speaking, because he's in Glasgow. But so he came along yesterday, and I said, well, there's a very famous architect here from Edinburgh who's going to be speaking. And this little girl came up to us, we were chatting afterwards. She goes, excuse me, I've got a question. And I'm like, yes. She says, oh, not you, I want to speak to Gordon. And it turns out, she says, do you know Neve Brown? And he says, yes, he was my tutor. He's a very famous modernist architect here in Scotland. Well, he's my great-grandfather, she said. So it was a really lovely story. Very good. I'm going to put that on here. Good. So, over to you, Gordon. Do you want to say that?
Thanks, Mark. Fantastic to be here, and what I should have done recruit the last presenter to do my session. Fantastic. I'm Gordon. I run PechaKucha Edinburgh. We've done 43 events.
Wow.
It's a little bit more than Glasgow. Not that there's any competition, but of course, not been much recently. But you know, we really see it as a platform to allow people to express what they're doing, a kind of moment in time, and it is the best night out. I mean, everybody keeps telling me, lots of endorsements. It's fantastic. It's changed my life. I'm sure Mark has had all of that sort of put to him. So without much further ado, I'm going to carry on. I've probably not so many kind of amazing photographs, but there is actually a story which is very, fits very well with the agenda we're surrounding.
Okay. 20 slides are yours, Gordon.
So this is all about looking at Alba Limited, of which I'm a director. We set up this company, and our byline is mass timber for the masses. Mass timber is a very kind of popular thing at the moment in architecture. It's basically just lots of layers of timber laminated together. But of course, the sort of people in outlying areas are really kind of disenfranchised. So what we thought we could do, we can maybe, instead of making a product initially, what we have to do is reinvent the supply chain. So we're going to take it to the people. So instead of building a big shed in the middle of the country in Scotland between Edinburgh and Glasgow, we're actually going to get different pieces of the kit we need, and we're going to take it to the forest. We will do a deal with a landowner and the local community who needs the housing. And this is the model. It is a kind of social enterprise that kind of basically empowers the community, gives them jobs and training, and obviously they need housing, but they cannot get the materials. So you might have seen this kind of famous diagram, linear, recycling, circular economy at the end there. That's really where we're headed, and what we all need to embrace. So we're looking at a couple of things here. One is the process where we can get relationships together with people. The other, a key part within that process, is the solar kiln. So down the left here, we've got, these are our goals. These are all kind of typical standard things. On the right, we're looking for a Scottish UK construction industry supply chain model, a network of solar timber kiln assets. That's the timber in the kiln drying. We're going to try and make dowel laminated timber Panels, this is an example of a dowel laminated timber panel, mostly made in Europe, particularly in Austria in this case. We don't really do it at all yet in the UK. People have been trying for 20 years, or more. It's very slow to get this kind of thing off the ground. So we thought, solve this, we're just going to try and do it ourselves. We're going to do it direct. We're going to meet landowners, we're going to kind of meet the community and try and put the two together so we can make it happen. So we're going to prove the concept. All the kit is kind of more or less there, except for one bit that we're going to try and improve on. So we're going to set up the agreements with all the people, the client and the landowner. And here's the kind of there's a little kind of a diagram. So we've got to go and harvest the trees, and then we've got to kind of cut them down. Timber. You'll see the next one. We're going to cut the tree down, and then we've got to strip the branches, and we will use the kind of mobile sort of plant to kind of, which is it's available everywhere, America, Canada, Scandinavia. You can sort of just process the planks into these what they call them lamellas, and then you'll see it in a bit the timber solar kiln. This is the bit. These timber solar kilns exist, but they're not as mobile bits of kit. So that's what we're looking to make it mobile, so we can actually take it, dry the timber on site once we've sort of converted it. That will then allow us we will then monitor the timber remotely from the office, so we know when it reaches the right moisture content. And we go back to the site with a container full of machinery to make the panels. We will then make the panels and then deliver them to site, and then we move the kiln to the next project. But at any one time, there could be quite a large network of these timber solar kilns, and they're solar in as much as, I think people get confused. There are a couple of solar PVs on top to power the fans that move the air inside, but actually it's just basically a kind of hot box that so it will have a sort of glazed kind of panel on one side of the kiln. You will see it very soon, I promise. And so what we're doing at the moment is we're really quite close to getting funded to research this with the university. It's mandatory, you need that. So we've got a number of people we're going to partner with. So here's a kind of cutaway view of so here's the solar connector on the left, and now the timber inside, and obviously the timber lamellas are put in from the outside. And it's a bit like a container, but this is like a bare bones container. It's just a framework. And then here we are. So you've got just an indicative plan, if you like. So each one of these might represent 3 or 4 containers of timber that are drying, and we're monitoring when it gets to the right content, moisture. We go back to the site, and then we convert the timber, and we deliver the panels that the client has ordered back to the community for use, whether it's housing or a sort of a community project. So this is, again, is very basic sort of broad brush doodle line one. Just what is a kind of dowel laminated panel? We've got a lot of planks going one way, and then the next line of planks are going the opposite direction, and then the last one might then be back. Like the first one, and then at the end you put the panels together. So we put the timber in a jig, and we will make the panels in situ on or near the forest with timber nails, and that's basically it's like a drill, but it's actually fires timber nails through the timber to make the panel. And the timber nails are actually a different kind of timber to the planks, so actually they bind together, and it's very solid. And the thing is, there is no glue, which is, for us is important. We're trying to do it without any volatile organic compounds. So there you go. That's the panel going together, and it's also better in fire. There's a lot of stuff about mass timber and fire not being so good because the glue might fail. But obviously, if it's pegged together this way, is very sound, and it will just char. Timber normally does on fire. So this is what we're trying to do. So at the moment, we're kind of putting the word out to all these we're trying to get the landowners and the client lobbies, agreements with them, and we're pursuing funding with Zero Waste Scotland. We said we tick all the boxes but we don't know what to do with you. Thank you.
It's really interesting that you take the battery to the forest, yeah? There's lots of the things I was going to say, but it is really cool and these things can move around. It's taking several processes out of that supply chain, which I think, especially now when we see that happen with some storage or whatever. So it's really, really clever. And I really like the way you make these, these it's almost like a Japanese way, Japanese wooden nails. So most of the temples are built in Japan without any nails at all, without any steel. And that's kind of interesting. And they also use water, so they dry them, put them in, and then put water on them, and they expand back out. That's how they stay tight. So there's lots of really great techniques. So congratulations, it's really nice.
It's nice and flexible.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to go to the top page of the PechaKucha website. If it works here. So let me go to the top page. So just to show you that we've already got presentation from yesterday up from Snowstorm. So there's six presentations up. We'll be adding the other presentations that we get here. So this is not the end. This is not the end of PechaKucha. This is the start. This is the start of the journey of their presentations. Everybody's presentation today. And Daydream Believers and all the partners here will be sharing them out far and wide. We'll be doing on our PechaKucha website tour and on our newsletters. So, as I say, this is the start of your presentation, not the end. So, thank you all very much. And we're probably going to drift over to the bar and have some thinking and drinking. Thank you very much.